Hello, everybody. We're going to get started. Thank you for taking your seats. So good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Thomas-Reynaud. I'm the head of the GPAI Secretariat, hosted at the OECD in Paris. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you and ministers, GPAI member delegates, experts, and the public participants who are here today, whether you're engaging virtually or physically at this ministerial dialogue. We're going to explore some approaches and some lessons learned from domestic efforts to inform global AI cooperation, and in particular to inform the GPAI projects. Let me start by thanking our hosts, Japan, for the 2022 GPAI Summit, convening us all here, convening our official meetings this week, as well as the rich programming of side events that you've been enjoying today. Maybe we'll give them a quick round of applause. So it's an honor to introduce you to our distinguished panelists. On the stage next to me, we have Mr. José Gotijo. He's Vice Minister of Science, Technology, and Innovation for Brazil. We have Mr. Peter Ocho, Deputy Minister for Digitalization and Innovation in the Ministry of Industry and Trade of the Czech Republic. Mr. Abhishek Singh is CEO of Digital India Corporation, and Dr. Janil Putticherry is the Senior Minister of State in the Ministry of Communications and Information of Singapore. And Ms. Emilia Stomenovo is the Minister of Digital Transformation of Slovenia. So again, thank you for joining us, providing this audience of GPAI member governments, experts, and the public with your perspective from implementing AI strategies domestically. We're looking forward to hearing how each of your experiences can help us offer insights into these applied projects that are being pursued by the GPAI experts. And we'd like to know how those can be most helpful to your governments. So we have this opportunity to engage our high-level member representatives on this stage because as part of the GPAI Summit, the annual council meeting takes place. This is an occasion for members to help orient GPAI priorities and work planning for the future. This guidance is critical to pursue GPAI's mission in a manner that's guided by the realities of governments that are navigating AI's opportunities and challenges, in addition to the expectations of citizens for them to pursue this in a responsible way. In preparing their participation today, we asked our speakers to consider sharing insights from national implementation efforts and reflections on how GPAI projects could best support them as governments. Accompanying all the excellent project insights and reporting coming from expert groups, the GPAI Secretariat provided Council with a report on AI policy analyses in line with its responsibilities to update members on domestic and international developments. This output leverages the hosting of the OECD and access to cross-cutting policy analysis produced by OECD and other international organizations. AI and human rights, healthcare, and climate action were covered, as they have been recent priorities of Council. As we also addressed AI and international trade, finance, and public service delivery as areas that had seen considerable policy developments. From that report, we noted the need for countries to coordinate their digital, AI, data, and environmental strategies. And we know there's some good groundwork taking place in discussions on AI and other partner organizations. The unique opportunity we have in GPAI is to bridge the gap between theory and practice, to discuss and identify what are the questions to prioritize while leveraging multi-stakeholder collaboration and expertise so that we can pursue practical projects and spread understanding from these. So here's our chance to connect the dots. We're going to start with the domestic context and work our way towards GPAI's opportunity to contribute. Vice Minister The last time we met, you and your teams were laying important foundations in Brazil on a national AI strategy. What can you tell us about these developments and any recent lessons you are learning?
Thank you, Elizabeth, distinguished colleagues in the panel. Thank you, Japan, to host this meeting. Since 2018, we start to develop the AI strategy. So we hired a public consultant, we make a contract to hire some specialists to bring the best practice that's happening in the world at the time. We received more than 1,000 contributions from the whole society. And processing all these documents, in 2021, we published an act that established the National AI Strategy. It's split in 6 pillars: education, capacity building, workforce and training, that's different for education, R&D and entrepreneurship, application in the productive sectors, and then we prioritized 4 areas, 2 very attached to the GDP, agribusiness and industry, and 2 very attached to the quality of life of the citizens, that's health and smart cities. And then application in public power, how the government can use AI in the best way, and also public security. Looking to this, the strategy give us the information and the support to implement investments from public side on AI projects. Only to let you know, in 2022, we invested in Brazil 1.2 billion reais. That's in dollars, is up $200, $300 million in 2022, in many areas. So we established a national AI network with the R&D centers, we foster startups, we have selected 8 reference centers for AI on these 4 prioritized areas. We also bring and stimulate the investment R&D on AI from the private sector. And all those things together only happen because we had the AI strategy. But if you think about that, it started in 2018. It was not President Bolsonaro, it was President Temer. Then we changed presidency, and for the next 4 years. And now we are in the next transition for the next president, with Lula. And how this have this continuity, how this can be made as a state policy. It's because we have this governance implemented in a multi-stakeholder model. When we bring the industry, we bring the R&D institutions, the universities, all the government technicians in every state, not only the federal level, but in state level and the municipality level, and everyone together in like a council, like a committee, and subcommittees in these areas. So no matter who will be the president, all these stakeholders will tell to him, oh, this is important, we have to keep going. And this happened in Brazil. And with this confidence, we put this amount of money, and the industry and the universities and the R&D centers respond. So we have this ecosystem, and Brazil is not doing this alone. We have 8 multilateral agreements, G20, OECD, GPAI, UNIDO, UNESCO, Mercosur, a lot BRICS, and 16 bilateral meetings with many countries. Many of them are here. So all this engagement happened because we have this strategy established, and in this multi-stakeholder model, that you have the perennity of the policy. No matter who will be the president, no matter who will be the party, the policy will stay.
Thank you, and congratulations. That's a lot of work. Mr. Singh, can we hear a little bit about India's national strategy experiences and the relevant lessons for this GPAI audience?
Thank you, and I must compliment the host nation, Japan, and OECD for organizing this wonderful conference. It's been such an enlightening place to learn about what the global, all countries in AI are doing. As far as India is concerned, we realize that given the size of our nation, given the digital transformation projects which we have implemented, the population scale, we have access to a lot of data. And data remains the core of our national strategy on AI, how we can leverage the data that is available, how we can supplement it with the compute that is required for running algorithms, and at the same time, leverage on the skill sets we have in AI. We are one of the world's largest tech manpower providers. So we are working on augmenting that, in ensuring that we have this AI skilled workforce who can build population scale solutions using AI, for solving societal problems in healthcare, in agriculture, in skilling, in education, not only for India but for the entire world. So the core pillars on which we have built our AI strategy lies on open data policy, and we way back in 2012 we set up our open government data portal, and which is used extensively. We have almost 600,000 data sets over there, almost 172,000 APIs which are available, and millions of researchers, millions of entrepreneurs, millions of students, millions of government employees. We are able to access that data set and build solutions on top of that. And now we are augmenting it with the National Data Analytics Platform, because whatever data is available, when it's processed, when it's analyzed, it results in greater value. And coupled with the India Datasets Program and India Dataset Platform, about which our Honorable Minister spoke about this morning, it is going to help us use that data to build AI solutions. We are already using AI for crop disease diagnosis or breast cancer diagnosis. We use it extensively during COVID-19 for conversational AI chatbots, and ensuring that AI tools, especially in a country like India where we have diversity of language, we could use it for translation tools, and we could ensure that people could use it even for voice-assisted services, wherein voice became a major way of accessing public services. Then the national program on AI, which we are implementing, it seeks to build upon on the data governance framework, ensure that the privacy preservation tools, the anonymization tools which are required in order to making data usable for the non-personal data, especially usable for building solutions that can help serve our country as also the global community. For skilling, we have made a lot of investments, and we have a program called Future Prime Skills, wherein we are working on upskilling, reskilling. So what we found is that the tech workforce that is there has constantly acquired new skills, and AI becomes one of the major ones. We also run a program called Responsible AI for Youth, in which we catch students from very young age, from grade 8th to 12th, and they are given lessons in basic AI, and they come up with solutions. It runs through 3 phases, in which the first phase, they are given AI 101 courses, and then there is an ideation phase in which they will think of building a solution, building a prototype by using AI, and then they come up with solutions, and some of the solutions that they have come up is really, really interesting and very useful. And AI has become part of our school curriculum, and we believe that when students get access to such technologies right from the beginning, they will be able to work forward. We also have a policy for supporting entrepreneurs, startups. India has been like the unicorn nation in the last few years. During COVID-19 pandemic, we had many startups which acquired unicorn status, and many of them are working in the field of AI. So we have very supportive policies for ensuring funding to such AI startups at all stages, the small and medium enterprises also. So the government schemes also helps us in startups and AI companies to scale up, to work closely with academia and to researchers in order to create the entire ecosystem of development of AI solutions. The government role primarily remains as enabling, providing access to data, working with agencies like CDAC to provide compute facilities, and work closely with the researchers and the industry in order to ensure that whichever solutions are developed at the prototype stage can be scaled up at the population scale. So all this has helped us in being able to start up a process in which AI-led solutions have been tested, adopted, and deployed at a population scale. So these have been the prime initiatives that we have taken under our national strategy on AI.
Thank you so much for that. We applaud your engagement, and we're very pleased you've joined us as the incoming chair. Deputy Minister Ocho, what can you share with us about national developments in the Czech Republic? Perhaps you want to touch a little bit on some of the EU developments as well, and what insights are arising from these experiences that you think this audience should consider?
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you very much for the invitation, and congratulations to the organizers from Japan for this great event. So a few words for the Czech Republic, and as you have asked also, we'll speak a little bit on the EU developments, as the Czech Republic has this half of year the presidency of the Council of the European Union. But first, for the Czech Republic is focusing on artificial intelligence as one of its priorities for quite a long time. But actually, in the beginning of 2019, in May, we have published our first complete national artificial intelligence strategy that actually followed the coordinated plan on artificial intelligence that was actually published by the European Union. Actually, many points of the Czech national strategy on artificial intelligence are, of course, similar to what my predecessors already mentioned, focusing on education, social impact, but also very much on R&D, entrepreneurs, but also on regulation and security, that I would say that in the Czech case was even stronger focus than maybe in some other cases, and also on the international cooperation. And the fact that Czech Republic is now a member of GPAI is also thanks to our international dimension of the national artificial intelligence strategy. So we have done a lot of activities, or we have put in place a lot of activities that I will not name of all of them, but I would like to stress that as a very important activity we see actually the technology adoption by small and medium enterprises. And there, actually, we see as very useful tool, actually the EU-based tool that is called Digital Innovation Hubs, European Digital Innovation Hubs, that are partly financed from Digital Europe program, but every member state has some role in the coordination of these Digital Innovation Hubs. And these hubs should play role of actually awareness raising, facilitation, and help to the SMEs to actually understand the potential of artificial intelligence and also the adoption of the technology and helping with the investment into the technology as a part of its digital transformation plan. As in all of our countries, SMEs are, of course, the backbone of the economy, and we see this as very important. One point I also wanted to highlight, and it's also a bridge to the EU level, is that especially in last year we actually see the strengths of artificial intelligence in the area of propaganda and disinformation. As a Czech Republic, as a country that is actually quite close to Ukraine, we see a lot of propaganda and disinformation coming from Russia, and this unprecedented aggression to Ukraine is something that we have to face somehow. All the countries that share the democratic values should face it very intensively, and we need to invest into actual models and mechanisms that will help us to fight also in the digital war that is now in the digital space every day. In that, I would like to mention that what we see as very useful is a network of so-called European Digital Media Observatory hubs, and one of them is in the Czech Republic, together with Poland and Slovakia, and together they are analyzing the sources of disinformation and trying to find ways how to tackle them. And by that, I got to the EU level, and I will be short. I just wanted to mention that one of the most important priorities of the Czech presidency of the EU now is to actually finalize the discussions and to find the consensus on Artificial Intelligence Act. That is a key legislation in the EU that should actually help us to put in place the right framework for human-centric approach to the artificial intelligence, and we really believe that this regulation will be a pioneer that could actually show the best practice for other countries, how the legislative framework for the human-centric artificial intelligence could work. We are close to final consensus on the level of the member states, so we are hoping to have this so-called general approach by the end of this year, and we believe that during the next year we could, there will be also then the other presidency, the Swedish presidency especially, could finalize the agreement with the European Parliament, and this quite extensive regulation of artificial intelligence could be finalized. We also have a few other priorities like Data Act or some cybersecurity files, but we don't have time to go into detail. So maybe in the discussion I can comment on that in more detail if you would be interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister Putzcherry, Singapore's national strategy dates back to 2019, so you have some years of experience implementing your strategy. What can you tell us about your experiences and lessons that might help us?
Thank you very much, and I'd like to echo my fellow panelists' thanks to Japan and the GPAI team for organizing this. Over the years, attending events like this and in partnership with like-minded countries, we've learned a lot. Like many, we've launched a national strategy, as you've mentioned. We've started a national AI office to coordinate the efforts around it. We have a number of funding streams, whether it's about making sure we have the undergraduate pipeline, the postgraduate, mid-career switch, but also to develop the research expertise, drive startups. We've understood the importance of making sure we have the right type of regulations around data governance. We've got a Personal Data Protection Act and several other legislative tools, not just in play, but also then being subsequently developed and refreshed as we learn more. We've also, as part of our digital government blueprint, required every ministry and ministry family to implement an AI transformative project. Not necessarily that every ministry is going to become an expert at this, but it's so that the staff, the teams, and the legislative operations get familiarity with the regulatory issues associated with AI within their domain. So all of that, I think, is very much in common with many of the other partners. I thought I might focus my comments a little bit more on the implementation side of what we're doing with AI in Singapore. And we have come to realize that when it comes to the effective and useful implementation of AI, shoring up and strengthening trust is the key issue. And in doing so, we have to balance our governance approach between making sure there's enough room for innovation and the cutting-edge developments, and as well as safeguarding the interests of the consumer. And in doing so, develop reference points, frameworks that we can share and can learn from as we try to drive then cross-border interoperability. All our frameworks are slightly different, but similar intent, and we have to then try to develop that cross-border interoperability in our implementation processes. And to that end, and wanting AI implementation to be fair, explainable, and safe, we launched the Model AI Governance Framework in 2019. And this was a framework for industry's governance. How does a company, how does a business govern and have oversight within their AI implementation, and have that AI implementation be trustworthy by the public? As a follow-up to that, we've published implementation guides, a self-assessment guide, as well as compiling a compendium of use cases that companies can take reference from and demonstrate how those use cases align out themselves with the rest of our regulatory framework. These are implementations of AI that are not just effective and trustworthy, but straight out of the box compliant with our regulatory framework. More recently, we've taken the next step to launch a product we call AI Verify. It's at the minimum viable product stage at the moment. This is a testing framework. It's a toolkit for businesses then to back test and as the name says, verify in a transparent and explainable way to the consumers and to the members of the public how their AI is implemented and deployed. We beta tested it with a number of industry partners, Amazon Web Services, DBS Bank of Singapore, Meta, Google, Microsoft, and as we continue to deploy, we are hoping to gather more feedback from industry and other partners so that we can refine our approach. And so as we take this forward, we want to support the development of cutting-edge technology, but mitigate the risks as the technology matures, and do so in partnership with industry, partnership with academia, and a wide variety of stakeholders that organizations like the OECD and GPAI bring together. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm going to now give the floor to Minister Stojmenović. Slovenia has been an active player in the research field on AI, and you've had a national AI program that you've been implementing. We'd love to hear about your experience and lessons.
Thanks a lot. once more, I would like also to congratulate Japan for organizing this meeting and meeting all the colleagues here. It's a great opportunity. As you mentioned, in Slovenia we have a national program on AI. We have a huge tradition in AI research for more than 40 years, also when it comes to education, more than 30 years, and so on and so on. But the first I would like to share with you is we have formed a coordinated approach to digital transformation and AI. That's why we have a Ministry for Digital Transformation. So this is the first thing, and then everything comes much, much easier to implement the national program of AI as well. So in our national program, which was developed last year, we are focusing on research, innovation, and also deployment of several different AI projects and programs. And they are mostly focused in 6 different fields, such as Industry 4.0, health, language technologies, then food, environment and spatial planning, and of course public administration. Another thing what we are doing is we started a project, National AI Observatory. We believe that there are some country specifics that are not, of course, we have the OECD AI Observatory, but sometimes there are some specifics that need to be taken into account, and that is why we started with this national project. As my colleagues mentioned, we are also dealing with the skilling processes, so there are several different mostly university level study programs, so we would like to have more experts in AI. Then I love to hear what was mentioned in Czech Republic, European Digital Innovation Hubs. We have 3 of them in Slovenia as well. So the government is co-founding 2 of them. One of them has Seal of Excellence, so we might fund the 3rd one as well. And each of them is dealing with artificial intelligence in different sectors. Of course, we have IRCAI, which was founded under the auspices of UNESCO, so International Research Center on AI, at our research center, Jožef Stefan. But to have proper projects on artificial intelligence, you need data. So that is why one of my first projects when I came into office, and that was June this year, we started a project with OECD, and I think we're the first one in the world, a network of data stewards. What we would like to have is to train people at our ministries, governmental offices, then also from the municipalities, that they will be able to understand data, to work with data, and what is most importantly, to also train their colleagues. We are starting with this project this year in December, and we're looking forward the future results. Another thing that Slovenia is a trendsetter is open data. Together with the Association of Municipalities, we did a lot of awareness raising in the past. It was difficult to convince them why we need to open the data and how the companies can use this data for innovation. But now we have this open data portal. We have a lot of data sets, and for me this is also very important because we can show the transparency also of the government and on different governance levels. What I also wanted to mention is that when it comes to AI, we would like to show that it's important for all different sectors. So it's not only for the ICT sector, but it is also important for traditional sectors such as agriculture, for example, and we would like to show how it can be used. And then because not everything is only good. There are some lessons learned and what I always say, room for improvement. We are facing lack of experts. So even though we are above the European average when it comes to ICT experts, still we see that there are not enough experts in our country. And then one very important issue I would also like to talk more during this meeting is lack of knowledge transfer. Most of the AI researchers, and this is not only in Slovenia, but this is on global level, are working in academia. And we see that this knowledge is not transferred into practice. Then lack of funding, which I also believe sometimes the problem is because there is no enough coordination. So we are funding small projects and then the results are not what we are expecting. And it was again mentioned lack of trust. Because people don't understand how AI work. And I'm not speaking about experts, I'm speaking about citizens, I'm speaking about other companies, not ICT companies. And when they don't understand a technology, then they're afraid of using that technology if they don't know how it works. And of course, lack of understanding. So, in short.
Thank you very much. So it's really interesting to hear how much confluence there is in the different strategy approaches, and we've heard a lot of sort of common words. What's really encouraging as I'm listening to you is how many of the important topics to you are being worked on and discussed and focused on by the experts in GPAI. So we heard a lot about data, we heard a lot about SMEs and innovation, building trust and confidence, a lot about education and training and the future of work. I'll let you speak for yourselves on how you connect those to your vision for GPAI. And this time we're going to start with you, Minister Pucheri, from Singapore. We'd like to hear about your perspective on international cooperation and the pursuit that GPAI projects can offer you towards those goals, how your perspective might inform the experts working on there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. For us in Singapore, when we look at the issues, we are a relatively globalized city, and many of the things that we do are already in partnership with international partners, stakeholders, companies. And we have had this around trade, digitization, data sharing. And now how do we take that approach and think about what we do with AI? It's quite clear, just even from our discussion today, but I think if you look at the broader discussion around AI, there is a series of issues on which we are all converging. And you've summarized some of them, many of which we've all developed our own regulatory structures, our own processes within our economies, within our countries. Businesses are getting used to operating within that regulatory framework. What we now need to think about is how we make these various frameworks interoperable. And I think looking at what GPAI projects there are, which are progressing, which are being implemented in a variety of locations, I think one of the very useful set of lessons that we are learning and that we are hoping that we can talk more about is how do these projects inform us about the commonalities of our regulatory structure, where our language or our starting point may be different. Some start from privacy protection, some start about open data, some start from the perspective of how we prevent the harms, online harms and misinformation. But actually we largely converge on a handful of structures around data, around the balance of consumer interest versus innovation, the issues to do with regulation about the online space in terms of shoring up trust, cybersecurity. And these variety of issues that we have in common, we all have regulatory frameworks, or we all are starting to develop regulatory frameworks. I think now the next step is how to then think about how we interoperate those regulatory frameworks. And I think the GPAI projects, the GPAI stakeholders and the discussions that we're having around it, a very useful set of launch pads for thinking about how that interoperability might be taken forward. And that, I think, is something that informs us in Singapore, not just about what we're doing with artificial intelligence, but how it informs all the things that we're doing around all the other domains, cybersecurity, data, online harms, privacy protections, and so forth. And I think that is a useful set of lessons coming out of the AI discussions that should inform the rest of our digitization agenda. And that's the way in which we're approaching it in Singapore.
Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to you now, Vice Minister Gontijo, if you could share with us You've been a member now for 2 years. Brazil has been involved in GPAI. We'd like to hear a little bit more about what you're seeking from the global partnership and how the outputs of the GPAI experts can help your ambitions.
Thank you. I guess in the MAG meeting, we were talking about the achievements of the projects. They're great, but one thing that's very important for us in the government, okay, you achieved that, but to achieve that, what are the challenges that you pass through? What are the gaps? What you have to take around in some regulations? Tell us that. This is very important. I talked to Ima. Please, next report, send this to us. This is very important. When I hear about the toolkit in Singapore, well, that's amazing. That's one thing that we are looking for in Brazil. We have 4 bill of laws in the Congress that's looking for explainability, for the AI, transparency, lots of things. Maybe this not the same, but take this as a starting point and see what you can do in Brazil. We have the AI Observatory, and what we are trying to do is, we realize, talking with our colleagues in GPAI, that it's very hard to the government implement AI in the government. I don't know the legislation in your country, but in Brazil, we have to do public calls for hiring everything from the government. Imagine, I will hire something that I don't know that will work, that will be training, and I really don't know. And there are the accountability institutions that will look if I use well the public money. So what we did is try to change this to innovation. What we did is we called the pilot is 4 public institutions and asked them, what are your challenges? Then we publish that, and we ask startups to develop a solution for them, and then I give them money, grants for them. And this is a different way to buy the technology. We are sharing the risk, and the startup will have the knowledge. For the specific institution, they will give for free, but they can commercialize in other aspects. So all this knowledge is listening to our partner here in GPAI and try to evaluate, like we just talking here, we get some insights to do in the next year. So this is the main thing that we have in GPAI for me.
That's really helpful to hear, and I'm sure very encouraging for people participating and investing their time in this work. I'm going to go back to you, Minister Stoyanova. You're very active already in international cooperation. You've mentioned some of these efforts across different initiatives. It would be interesting to hear specifically what you're seeking in GPAI and how you think the experts might be contributing to that.
So exactly what you mentioned, international collaboration. Maybe what we would like to see more is to see how different international organizations and the work of their working groups sometimes is overlapping. And for countries like Slovenia with 2 million people, for us we don't have enough experts to collaborate on all different international organizations, and also we don't have enough budget to be part of all different organizations. So we would like to see more collaboration, and we would like to see which organization is covering what kind of aspects when it comes to artificial intelligence. So, for example, the Act for AI was mentioned, and we're very fond of the definition that was produced here. So Slovenia is one of the countries that would like to have the same definition also in the European Union. And here we would like to see more synergy also with GPAI. Then one thing that I am missing is more focus on diversity. So once more, I'm the only one from my gender. Yes. Usually we are moderators. So if you're +1, then it's a huge success, but it's not. And we're not only speaking about gender gaps, we are speaking about other gaps as well. So in AI, this is a very important topic, and we would like to see it covered, because these gaps can have huge impact on the development of all different kind of solutions using AI. Then another thing is to work more about leadership. So to have trained leaders in these topics, really to understand what is it about. and how to move from theory into practice. So what you mentioned at the beginning, what are the aims? I was taking notes: multi-stakeholder collaboration and bring in practice. These are the words we are using all the time in the European Commission, in the World Economic Forum, in the Council of Europe. All the time we are using the same words. But then at the end, usually we have the researchers, we have the states that are working, but we're not having multi-stakeholder collaboration. At least it's not efficient. And again, a lot of times it stays with documents, with strategies, with visions, but we're not transferring into practice. And this is what we expect from an organization like GPAI for the future.
Thank you very much. I feel like I'm also taking notes. It's a bit of our homework you're assigning us, so we appreciate that. I'm going to turn now to Mr. Singh. So India has just been elected to the incoming chair. We'd like to hear a little bit about the vision of India for the global partnership through GPAI and how you see experts contributing to that.
Thank you, and first and foremost, thanks to all the members for supporting us, and we look forward to strengthening the work GPA has been doing in the last few years. And the working groups, we have seen the way GPA has brought together the experts, the working groups, and identified the key priorities and brought together a lot of consensus with regard to how we should approach. Because again, AI is something on which we do require a global approach. It's not a national issue, or it's not just one nation's issue. One has to work closely with regard to how different countries are approaching this problem, work with experts, and leverage what has been done. We don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time. And if there is some good solution which has been used to tackle healthcare or agriculture, that should be used. And another thing that a platform like GPA brings in is that it brings together the issues of not only the global north, but global south also, brings in the issues that are at the top of the mind for developing countries, and tries to ensure that how the top-end research which goes on in the fields like AI also focuses on not only making driverless cars and other such tools, but also focuses on using data and analytics and algorithms for better healthcare. And we have seen that happen during the pandemic, like when we were able to analyze data from various parts of India, we were able to predict which are the most vulnerable areas. So similarly, when we are tackling other communicable diseases, or even we are tackling issues related to agriculture, technologies like AI can play a big role. So as we move forward and work with the working groups and the multiple stakeholder engagement models, they will bring together all such experts from across the world who will be able to together solve such problems, which will result in a better world for all of us. So we seek to work together. And our entire approach has been in the field of technology is that not only build solutions for India, but offer it to the entire world. So the India Stack initiative that we have taken, wherein the solutions developed for identities-based solutions or payments-based solutions or tackling large-scale education or telemedicine solutions, all of it has been made open source and made available for the global community. And we are part of the GovStack initiative, and the UN's Digital Public Goods Alliance, wherein the endeavor is to build a digital public goods repository which can be used and adapted and in multiple countries. So similarly, we look forward to continuing that strategy with GPay for the AI solutions and the tools, and ensure that these tools are more democratized, made available. Then the other subjects with regard to the ethical and responsible AI, we've always been focusing on how do we ensure that AI becomes more responsive for social needs, ensure that the biases that may creep in when based on gender, race, or any other stereotypes, or based on legacy data, that is eliminated when we develop tools and algorithms. So we hope for the next year to be very engaging. We hope to learn from the experts. We hope to contribute what we can and ensure that AI becomes a tool for advancing the best that humanity can offer.
Very inspiring. Thank you. Thank you very much. So Deputy Minister Ocho, the Czech Republic is a newer member to GPAI. We'd like to hear a little bit about how GPAI fits into your strategy and what are the outputs that you want to see pursued by experts in GPAI.
Yeah, thank you. Definitely, we have big expectations, and I'm very happy to be here for the first time and to see and hear everything that's happening. And we are looking also forward to Indian leadership in the next period. In this, it's very promising for us. Definitely, actually sharing the experience, the good experience, but also the negative experience is very important factor, and definitely our expectation is that we can actually learn from this experience, but we can also share our experiences, and I think Czech Republic is quite far in many areas of artificial intelligence, including AI for manufacturing, natural language processing, but also in the actually research in the area of ethical artificial intelligence and so on. So there, I think we are ready to contribute. Generally, I see a very strong role of GPAI in actually facilitating the cooperation of all the bodies and in organizations that are actually active in artificial intelligence. It was already, of course, mentioned here several times. We have a lot of international and multilateral activities in artificial intelligence. Actually, from the EU at this moment, we have. We are, of course, all the member states are somehow active in the OECD. We have digital partnerships, or we are pushing digital partnerships with countries like Singapore, of course, Japan, Korea. We have, and I think this is really important, also TTC process with the US, but also with India on the way. And we have so many activities, and we should seek for some compatibility of approaches in all these activities, especially in the regulatory activity, because I fully agree with the emphasis on interoperability. This is really very important, and interoperability starts with some basic regulatory compatibility. So we need to speak to each other not only in the moment of implementation, but in the moment of preparation of new legislation that's actually happening now in the EU, of course. So there, the role of GPAI can be actually extremely critical, I would say. So this is also our expectations, and as a presidency of the EU, we have one of our priorities to be actually open to the fair, like-minded countries, the countries that share the democratic values that are all of our countries here, and GPAI is fully compatible with this priority of the Czech Republic in the EU. So we have big expectations, and we are looking forward to close cooperation.
Thank you very much, all of you, for your rich participation. I've taken a few notes, quite a few actually, but I'm really walking away with the notion that we need to, from all of you, we need to think about interoperability and coherence, and helping you address achievements as well as challenges and gaps. Making sure that GPAI is a place that offers ideas and allows you to leverage solutions from each other, from the experts. I've heard a lot about avoiding overlap and being efficient with your resources so that you're not overstretched, and that there's some compatibility, and then also that we need to pursue a little more actively getting to truly multi-stakeholder representation and a little bit more diversity. We do try. We are orienting our policies towards that as much as we can, but we're encouraged to have your support in those priorities. So I just want to thank you all for your participation, and the audience for attending. I don't want to stand between you and your dinner too much longer. I really hope that we can use this session to inform not just the discussions that we have throughout the next day, but also through our discussions in between these events. There's a lot of opportunity to socialize ideas and thinking, and Thank you all for participating in the summit and this particular dialogue.